keeping it with the thrillers though, unless you want to hop. Well, I guess you didn't see the scary one of the week. We'll go September 5th because I got to see this one in Chicago. I put it in my top 10. I know you had some words to say about it when we were mentioning it for an upcoming video for a pick of the week, but what were your overall thoughts on September 5th? A dark horse still? Got some globes for the awards season.
It got some nominations. I feel like it's probably a underdog in as far as its awards chances are concerned, and I would like it to stay that way as much as I did think this was a pretty competently made thriller. You know, it's a riveting story, and I think it's a really interesting angle in on this true history of the hostage situation at the 1972 Munich Games. This film obviously follows the ABC Sports News crew that was on the site getting coverage and distributing this to the masses. And I think it's through that angle that the film gets to ask some interesting questions about what the media's responsibility is in situations like this, the power of stories and of image, as well as the importance of truth, you know, are all pretty interesting questions that this film ultimately addresses. It is a little bit of like, because it's stripped down to this basically single location, there's a lot of being told information, and I feel like it ends up making the film feel limiting in some aspects.
Really?
You know, it's not a film that, in some ways, like not. It's just something that makes the film feel maybe a little smaller than it could be. You know, as people leave the facility, we don't really travel with them much. We more hear back from them. And there's one argument you can make that it sort of keeps you in the tension of that room. But I don't know if the tension was ever really that dialed up for me the way that maybe, you know, elite suspense thrillers are. I thought it was solid. I'm not trying to disparage the film in any way, but like I think to me it's like a notch below the best films of the year, at least.
Yeah. I see them asking us if you see this getting a Best Picture nom, considering it got one at the Globes. Has been getting a lot of push from people. I think it somehow does. I like it a little bit more than you, but I can still agree this is getting hyped up a little bit more for awards season than, I agree, some movies that are way more immaculate than this one. It still worked for me because I like the idea of the people at the center not really knowing what's happening, because that deals with the premise of, are you going to take that information at face value or go through the systems that you should before you tell everybody else what they should know? It's almost like what they're dealing with. I like the fact that it's a tight 90. I like what it talks about. I've heard some people say, like, you know, when someone gives a critique and you're like, literally the only answer to your critique is you want the movie to stop and tell you don't do this.
Right.
I don't really get that. I think the movie is telling you what you should or should not do by reenacting what happened in that moment, what they were able to take advantage of. Just the ploys of like how watermarking came to be and how a live broadcast to something happening at the moment almost becomes this mirror of a situation, and who really is the perpetrator, who is recording who is setting it up in a certain way without hand-holding you, which I think some people may need, but I think what makes this movie successful is that part, and I agree with you, may limit it from giving a more profound message that isn't explaining it to you, but can go a little deeper and instead just put you on the ride, which is exactly what I think it was meant to be. I'm surprised it's getting the Oscar talk, but I don't think it's a bad pick because I can see people getting really excited with a Best Picture nominee that doesn't put them to sleep.
That's the thing, is that like I ultimately have a hard time getting mad at solid, competently made movies like these, or, you know, right now people are trying to turn Kate Winslet and Lee into this awards villain because they haven't seen that movie and it's not, it's getting the attention that some of their favorites are not. I mean, like, look, I think Kate Winslet's performance in Lee is like one of my five favorites of this year. No, but like, it's not a villain to me either. And I don't think this movie, even if it isn't like the best of the year to me, is bad enough to be considered a villain when it comes to awards season. I think it's pretty solidly put together, a lot of really good performances in it. You know, it's perhaps a film that isn't really going out on a limb politically, but I think it's trying to really keep its focus on like the experience of the real time response, right? It's not trying to extrapolate it out beyond that. And it's also not trying to be didactic either. So perhaps that's points for it or points against it. But I think, as you said, the movie that it's trying to be, I think it's well executed.
It's getting a limited run now since it's getting the Golden Globes and stuff. So it was smarter than coming out in October. They got a little bit more of a push for it. I would plug it in. I was at a 3.5, 4. I'm going to solidify myself at a 4. You ended up going?
I think I'm at 3.5 on this one.
Right.
But I'm close to in between as well. We can go with a 4 for Intercut.
We can go 3.5 too for Intercut. Well, wait till it gets the Best Picture nominee and decide.
There we go. We'll knock it down
it.
if it gets in, of course.
Of course. Easily. I'll go down. We'll just delete the thing.
Yeah. If it gets the Best Picture nomination, we'll change it to 2 stars.
We were the biggest fans of it from the beginning.